Have you ever been affected by a narcissist? Today's show, I'm actually going to talk about my own experience and how you can help yourself and move past this and regain the life that you truly deserve.
Do you want to know everything? What your heart won't say, but your soul can sing. From love to loss and the space between, she's got the light to lift the unseen. Hope, healing, and transformation. Do you want to know everything? Do you want to know everything?
Welcome to Hope, Healing, and Transformation. My name's Lisa Williams, and today I'm dedicating this episode to you. The women who have walked through the fire of narcissistic relationships and are now standing in the middle of a messy healing space, wondering, who am I? How do I move forward? And can I ever trust again? I know exactly where you are. I know your pain. I've walked through it. I've walked through that fire, and I'm here to help you understand how to do it yourself. So, first of all, I want you to know that you are not broken and you're not alone. In this moment in your life, it is not an end. It is really the beginning to reclaiming who you are. It took me a while, but trust me, you are not alone and there is help out there. Now, before we talk about this healing part, I really want to be clear on what we're actually dealing with here. And I will share my own story. A narcissist isn't someone who is just taking lots of selfies, loves the center of attention, just talks about themselves and keeps the conversation around them. Narcissism, especially in relationships, goes much, much deeper. Psychologically, we are affected by them, and the traits go really, really deep. And when I didn't know what I was personally dealing with. And I'm going to share that story in a moment, but I really want to ground in to actually, and maybe I'll actually weave my story in through this so you can actually see how it was. Let's talk about these traits, which I think is very important, because what we're actually dealing with is something much deeper than just someone who's taking selfies and likes the attention. We're dealing with something that is very, very deep. And I'll try to share my own story in this without sharing the details, without naming any names, because it was a very public space for me back many years ago. But I'll definitely share some of the things that happened to me. So they have these moments of grandiosity, okay, which is, it is that moment where they are special, they are superior, they feel entitled. And I'll share something from my point of view. What happened to me is there were often comments like, you don't love the way that I love. You don't know how to love like I do. And then there were these comments of, well, if you're doing this, I deserve to be involved. If you're doing a TV show, I need to be involved. If you're on stage, I need to be on stage. That entitled space of being, they were not happy for me. They needed that attention. And there was that entitlement of, well, you've just had this meeting with your publisher, and I need to say exactly how I feel. And it was through that meeting with my publisher that I actually lost my big contracts. And it was insane. And of course, the more that they were in my life, the weaker I become. That's just one thing. Now, there's lack of empathy as well. They really cannot, and these narcissists can't really connect to how they truly feel. They care about how they care about how their actions affect others. And so what they'll do is they'll start making you feel wrong. And so they have this lack of empathy. And like I said previously, it was like, you don't love the way that I love. And I'm like, what is that? We all love in our own different way. Then there's the manipulation and control. And for me, it was a lot of guilt tripping, a lot of gaslighting, a lot of twisting my words until I started to question my own reality. And I'm sure you can relate to this. And in that moment, it becomes this massive, massive cycle. And this guilt tripping, I never forget, like going home and them thinking that I had, because I popped home from work, that thought that I had had somebody else in that house because they felt it and their intuition was telling them. And I was made to feel bad about it. And then there's this constant need for validation. These narcissists are going to feed off admiration and will discard you any moment that you stop supplying it. And like I said, it was, you can't go on stage without introducing me. You can't go on stage without doing this. And it became a really, really awkward situation. And then there was also this devaluation. They start creating this devaluation cycle. And first they put you up on this pedestal like you are the greatest thing since sliced bread. And then slowly they're going to tear you down. And it's not going to happen in an instant. It's just a little jab at you now and then. And then what happened to me is the isolation of my family. The isolation of my family, the isolation of my friends, the need for control. I mean, there were many times that as I was sitting in my office, they would come in and say, let me read your emails. Let me read your text messages. I don't trust this. And my text messages were read and my emails were coming in. And it was like, and I remember one of the text messages coming in and saying to me, and I woke up thinking about a friend of mine, a guy, and he was definitely not interested in me, gay guy, definitely not any form of intimate relationship in that way. And I said, hey, I woke up thinking about you. How are you? And the words when they read the text message was, you should be waking up thinking about me. How dare you? And at that point, I will never forget this. I got my phone and I threw it out of my car and I ran over it in my car. And I said, are you happy now? Now I can't have anybody. And I isolated everybody. And that was because I allowed it. And if all truth be told, I do believe that was the start where I stepped away from my career. As much as Charlie was important and my own family was important, that was one of the reasons why I stepped away in the way that I did, because of this narcissistic relationship. Now, you might be able to relate to this. Some of you might be going, well, it's not that bad. Well, it's not that bad. And it isn't that bad while you're in it. And you keep wanting to think that they're going to change, and you keep thinking they're going to want to change. And you might be in a narcissistic relationship with a parent as well. It doesn't have to be a relationship. It could be your spouse. It could be someone you've known for a long time. It could be a child. It could be a parent. And often it's a parent. And when we're in these narcissistic relationships, it feels like a roller coaster. Like you've got these massive, intense highs that will make you go, oh, but I can cope, because you're being given these little breadcrumbs. And then they're followed by these crushing lows that will absolutely break you. And, you know, the moments flood into my mind, the amount of times that I'm sitting in the bathroom and I am using the restroom and they have walked in because they are paranoid that I am going to be on the phone with somebody else. And they have sat and I am like, this is all-time soul-crushing lows, and they break you. And I'm only sharing my story here, guys, with you because I want you to know that I've been there. I have been in this space. I know how hard it is to actually get over it. And I know many people who are still in those relationships, and one of them being a friend of mine who has just got out of a narcissistic relationship. And I'll be honest with you, that's actually hard for me to support because it is so close to home, and it has been very, very tough, and it has just highlighted it all again. But this cycle repeats and repeats and repeats until you don't know which way to go. And I want you to know right now that you didn't imagine it. You did not cause it, and you definitely did not deserve it. Recognizing that you were in this narcissistic relationship is not about blaming yourself or validating, that you are this type of person or saying that you should be this. It's not. This is actually now about validating your experience so you can absolutely stop questioning your own sanity and start reclaiming your power. Because when you start stepping into your truth and you start realizing that this is what they do, then you will find that there is hope out there. I was isolated from all of my friends. I was isolated from my family, even though they lived 6,000 miles away. I was isolated from my career. I was isolated from my publisher. I was trapped to a point that in 2 years, I only went out personally twice without them. And one was to see a friend of mine who was like my mum, and I had lunch with her. And the other time was with somebody who was staying with us. And that was it. There were many times that they often went out, but I was never allowed to go. There was a tracker. They had a tracker on my car. It was horrendous. So I understand what it is like. So let's just talk about this. Being in a narcissistic relationship can feel like a death by 1,000 cuts. And I know that. This was the only time in my life I self-harmed. And when I self-harmed, it was because I needed a release. And I could absolutely see the awareness of why people self-harm, because I had all of this tension that was in there. And me just taking it was a sterile needle, and just scratching my hand and my arm. And sometimes you can still see the little scars on my arm. But doing that was a release. It gave me pain because I had been numbed so much to it. It was unbelievable. And so when you're in this place, you can't see the wood for the trees. You can't see out. You absolutely start doubting your self-worth because you were gaslit into believing that you were not enough. My ex-husband, I remember a phrase saying to me, "I'm going to put you back in the gutter where I got you from." And he was not this person I was talking about. But he said those words to me. That self-worth, that doubt starts chipping away at you. It starts giving you this doubt. And then some people say to you, "Oh, you get into a similar relationship than what you were in." And actually, yes, you do, but it's because we haven't healed between relationships. And that's what happened to me. Is I hadn't healed from my relationship, and I just thought, you know what? I'm going to heal in relationships. But my wounds were that big that it took one narcissist to actually realize how weak I was, and it was just taken. At that point, I was also fearing my intuition, and I feared everything. I was very well known for being psychic and a medium, and it was not far after my TV show. And so me trusting my intuition was all I had. And every time I trusted it and said this, I was told I was crazy. I was told I didn't know what I was talking about. I was told that whatever it was, I was told all of these crazy stories. And I felt so unsafe because my emotional ground was constantly shifting. And you might be able to relate to this because you are going to feel like you're not enough. You're going to feel like you're crazy. You are going to feel like your ground is constantly shifting. And you're also going to be given these little breadcrumbs, and you'll just pick them up. You'll be like, oh, great. Yeah, 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 yeah. And you hold out for those little breadcrumbs. But I want to tell you here, my friends, their behavior is not a reflection of your worth. It's not. It's a reflection of their wounds. And they are not willing to do anything about it. This is where trauma comes in. This is where problems arise. And when we are not ready to do the work, when we are not allowing ourselves to help ourselves, it becomes a big problem. And so their behavior is not a reflection of your worth. It's a reflection of their wounds. Please remember that. Okay? So, and I often think about this. I often think about where I would be if I wasn't in that relationship. And I knew that there was a plan. I knew that Spirit had a plan. I knew that Spirit definitely had a plan, and Spirit definitely had a way forward. But I just didn't understand where I was going with this, and it was crazy. So anyway, but it's I think when I look back now, I realize without that I would not be here, and also without that I would not appreciate the relationship that I'm in right now. Which, don't get me wrong, it has its faults, but it has been the best and healthiest relationship I have ever had. So here's where we start rebuilding. We start rebuilding, and you start rebuilding by realizing you're worthy. Because you, my friend, are absolutely worthy. You always were, you always will be, and this is where we start. And it's knowing your worth. And even if it's just little mantras that you write on your mirror, you write it in lipstick, you write it in pen, you write it on, I like to use the whiteboard pens. I write on my mirrors. You are worthy. You are available. You are emotionally available. You are strong. You are proud. You are this. You are that. And what we do is we start listing our qualities. So right now, these are your practical steps. And when we talk about practical steps, we have to start stepping into where we are. So I want you to write down the list of qualities that you bring and that you bring into a relationship. Whether it is loyalty, compassion, creativity, humor, positivity, whatever it is, we want you to write them down. These are yours. These are untouched. They are no one else's. These are your qualities. No one else can take them from you. Now, here's the other thing. I want you to create from those qualities, things that you know, start creating daily affirmations. And there is a saying when we start using the word I am, we're sending the energy out into the universe. But there's also that part of us that goes, I am, and we go, really, am I? Especially when you've been in a narcissistic relationship. That is really hard because you're actually not going to believe it. And a lot of people listening to me, if they have not been in a narcissistic relationship, won't understand it, because I will tell you, I had to do so much work on myself to get to where I am right now, where I can say I'm enough. I am worthy of love. I don't need to earn approval. I am my own approving, whatever it is. And I can now believe it. But it took me so long, and I had to just keep saying it. You are enough, Lisa. You are enough. You are enough. And that was important for me. And what I also had to do, and let's just start one step back from all of this before we have to get out of that relationship, or we have to manage it. So there were times that I wanted to keep I wanted to keep the relationship there. I wanted to keep the connection there. Well, I realized I couldn't. And so I can't tell you how many times I handed my phone to my trainer, and especially in the morning, that I said, just read the text, delete it. And then when I'm ready, I'm going to ask you what that was, and it's going to be paraphrased. And she would come back and say, well, this is what the text said. And I went, okay, because it sounded easier in their voice than it did in the anger or the way that it was always sent to me. And then I learned how to shut everything down. I shut everything down. And in my moment of weakness, oh my God, I never forget my moment of weakness. I was in Thailand doing a liver cleanse. Oh boy, it was horrendous, where I reached out and contacted them. I had done so well. I'd done 4 months with no contact. And then I reached out. Oy, the next 6 months was hell. That's all I'm going to say. But you have to get them out of your life. Now, if they are your mother, or you cannot get them out of your life, you have to create solid boundaries. And creating those solid boundaries allows you an element of control. So important. You decide when you answer back. You decide when you connect with them. You have absolute decision making in that space. Okay. So now let's go into the qualities that you bring into the relationships, the affirmations. Now we want to anchor you back into your body. Trauma disconnects you. I have not talked much openly about narcissism until recently. Because I think for many reasons, really, I wanted to ignore it. But I realized that doing my own work and working in this capacity, I realized that I needed to deal with it. And so the trauma, let's talk about what trauma is. Trauma is when you have gone through something alone and you have not had a voice, you've not been able to voice it, and you've not been able to bring it out, period. So you've hidden it right in, you've locked it in. And as much as this relationship I dealt with a therapist and I dealt with certain friends, there were some elements of it I just locked away. And that trauma disconnects you. And then the more I've dealt with it, the more I've brought it up, the more I have done the work, the more it brings you back into your body. So you want to look at starting to do breath work, gentle movement, like yoga. Yoga is great. Yin yoga, phenomenal. Hatha yoga, slow, controlled, easy movements, amazing. Even just that hand on your heart reminds you of like, wow, I'm here, I'm present, I matter. You know, Jamie Lee Curtis talks about taking photos of her feet, looking at your feet and realizing that your feet are there. And you are where your feet are. And I love that, because what it is it's showing you that you are present. We can live in our head. Our head creates a Hollywood drama that we don't actually win any Emmys for, or we don't win any, awards for. We create this Hollywood drama in our head, but really we need to be present. Because these narcissists are going to make you feel like you distrust yourself. And that inner part of you, that inner alignment, that inner compass, that intuition, whatever it is, they're going to try and smash it. They're going to try and smash it. It takes me back to a story. I remember saying to myself, where is my watch? Where's my watch? Where is my watch? And I'd lost a watch. It wasn't just any watch, it was a Rolex watch. And I remember thinking, where is my watch? And I thought, I bet you they've taken it. Anyway, during one of those periods of times where we got back together, I saw my watch. And I went, oh, you do have my watch. No, I bought that. Make me feel. Now, my watch has there was a specific marking on it. And the reason why I knew it was because I'd scratched it and I knew about that mark. Okay. And they said, no, that's my watch. That mark was on the watch, and they denied it, but they made me start questioning a watch that I knew that was, because I was so annoyed about that mark. And I will tell you, they're going to make you distrust your own intuition. So I want you to realize your intuition isn't gone. It's been waiting. And if you know anything about your intuition from what I've been telling you, your intuition is quiet. It's quiet. It whispers. It has this moment, and it's not very loud. But when you are connected to it, it's going to tell you everything you need to know. And here's what I'm going to say to you. This is how we start building it. You got to start small, okay? So ask yourself, do I want tea or coffee? And listen. What do I need? I did it just a moment ago before I started this. I have a coffee right here. And in my head, in my mind, I'm like, oh, I have a headache. And I literally went, okay, what do you need, Lisa? And I went, caffeine. I don't drink a lot of coffee, but I know that when I start getting the migraines, I know coffee's going to help. So I went towards coffee. Then ask yourself here, if you're thinking about meeting a friend, do I feel called to meet this friend? Is this friend the right person? And start listening, trusting your gut instinct, trusting the way the body reacts. I'm also going to say to you, create journals. This is one of the times that I actually started to journal so much. I journaled all my little hunches and I used them to check back. This is where my little post-it notes, where I used to take little post-it notes and write down things, and I would take them off the wall. That's where it all started. And see how accurate you are. The other part of it was I created a sanctuary for meditation and stillness. I turned one of the bedrooms that I was not allowed to touch, I turned one of those bedrooms into a healing sanctuary. And I created space. I placed my crystals, whatever it was. I created everything that I wanted in that place. And I created this sanctuary for me. And I started to journal, started to write, started to listen to spirit, started to walk. I started to do what I needed to do. Because your intuition is your inner safety system. The more you trust it, the safer you are going to feel, my friends. And I want you to know you are not alone. Feeling safe is a non-negotiable. It is not being selfish. It is survival. So create your boundaries. They are firm. They're not flexible. If you were in a relationship with them and you are no longer in a relationship, that is not a point to, oh, let's have dinner. Absolutely no. You shouldn't even have that conversation. You need to remove all access, block their numbers, mute social media. Don't check in on them. Oh my gosh. Delete with love. I do. I have certain people on mute. I have certain people I can't even see on social media, because what it does is it triggers the wound within me. Block their numbers. My mum still has that person on social media. I'm like, Mum, why? She's like, I just want to find out what they're doing. I'm like, I don't care anymore. That was like 10, 11 years ago. I want you to also ask your friends to help you out. I used to ask my friends to help keep me in the zone. And we're going to talk about community in a moment. But build a ritual of safety, whether it is a locked door, an alarm system, a calming routine at night, supportive friends on speed dial, whatever it is you need, because safety is really kind of that soil where your self-worth grows, is where you can grow. And you need to have safety right now. Narcissists will often isolate you. Yeah, man, that's hard. They'll often isolate you or make you feel like you're isolated, or isolate yourself from things. They will tell you, don't tell this person, don't tell that person, they hate me, they do this, they do that. Isolation is one of the biggest things. And that healing requires reconnection. this is probably going to be one of the hardest things for you. I'm going to say find that sisterhood, find that brotherhood, find that support group, find the online communication, find trusted friends. Sit there with them, even if you just have to sit with a group of people and listen. Community is important for you. Share your story. Even if that voice shakes, God, I've told my story and I've cried so many times, but speaking your truth breaks the shame. And there is nothing that you should be feeling ashamed about. Absolutely nothing. Because I will tell you, when you feel shame, you think it's your fault. You never got yourself into this. Yes, you could say I shoulda, woulda, coulda, but you never got yourself into this. This is them. This is them having so much trauma that they have not been able to work on themselves. And that's what helped me through it, was finding compassion and realize that I couldn't do it. I had to look after me. So surround yourself with people who lift you up, not put you down. Healing doesn't happen just in a small space. It actually happens out in the world. You don't have to do this alone. And one of the things that helped me was actually helping other people. Because one of the biggest lies that this is crazy. One of the biggest lies is that you're told is that you're too much or you're not enough. And for me, when I stepped into a place of helping other people, I realized I was right exactly where I needed to be, and I was enough. And I was never too much. I was just enough. I was just everything that I was needed. Because you are exactly who you are, and nothing can change it. So stop apologizing for being in a place that you're in. Stop apologizing for even existing. Stop apologizing because you're sorry. Stop apologizing, period. Stop apologizing because you are sorry that you have helped someone weed their garden. I'm so sorry I pulled up your weeds. Great. Fill your boots. Do that. I'm so sorry that I spoke and it was not received properly. No, you spoke. You gave me an opportunity to think, and so it made me go quiet for a moment. I appreciate what you said. Because what we've done is we know how to deal with narcissists, so we start immediately getting into our head about our next move and how to actually save ourselves out of a gaslight situation or whatever it is. Stop apologizing, because someone who is healthy is actually going to pause and they'll be like, that was really interesting. Tell me why you were saying that. Well, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that. No, I want to hear your opinion. Stop dimming your own light to make others feel comfortable, because this is what you've been trained to do with a narcissist. So stop doing it. Allow yourself to be seen. Allow yourself to be seen. And here's the thing. I have probably made many people uncomfortable in this situation, uncomfortable in what I'm talking about right now, and uncomfortable on my podcast. Who cares? It's mine. I'm not dimming my light because I want to make you feel comfortable. It's in the uncomfortable that we grow. So stand tall. Even if your voice trembles when you're speaking, even if you come out in tears, it's really okay. That is part of you that's actually being real, raw, and authentic. This is your life. No one gets to edit your life. This is exactly who you need to be. So this healing part of us isn't about survival now. Because for a long time, it was about survival. Now it's about thriving. You get to ask yourself, what do I want in my life? How do I want my life to be in a year from now? What steps can I do to rebuild, whether it's financially, emotionally, spiritually, physically, mentally? What steps can I do? And who are the people that I want to walk beside me as I am really coming through this? Who do I want that? And I'm going to tell you, it is powerful. Start creating a plan. Start writing it down, because this action gives a direction and where you want to go. It gives you a roadmap. It gives you hope. Even if you're really struggling right now and you're thinking, who is going to support me because I've isolated everybody? There's going to be someone out of there. You got to trust it. So my friends, I am going to place this to the women because it affects women a lot. To every woman that is listening, you are not defined by your relationship that hurt you. You are defined by your strength of what it took for you to leave. The courage it took to heal. Then the fire in your soul that will absolutely rise again. You have to trust your worth. You've got to trust your intuition, and you have got to build your own safety. You got to reclaim your community and never let anyone put you down again. Trust me, I'm living that life now. This is your time. This is your healing, and this is your rebirth. And I'm happy to walk beside you. If you need any help, put anything in the comments. Write your story. Speak your truth. Find community. Whatever it is, know you are not alone. My name's Lisa Williams. I'm telling you that you are the most important person in your life. You deserve your healing. You deserve this rebirth. You deserve your own time. I look forward to speaking to you next time.
Do you feel a whisper in the back of your mind, like the truth is waiting, but it's hard to find? Well, maybe there's magic in the words she brings. Close your eyes and listen in. Do you want to know everything? What your heart won't say, but your soul can sing. From love to loss and the space between, she's got the light to lift the unseen. Hope, healing, and transformation. Do you want to know everything? Do you want to know everything?
Thank you so much for joining me today. And remember, the information shared on this podcast is meant to inspire and support you, but it's not a replacement for personalized advice from a qualified professional. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with someone who might benefit. And don't forget to tune in next time. Until then, take care and keep believing in something better.